dropping from the tree.
All right, welcome back to the Beyond Coaching podcast. Today we're joined by Coach Joey Paladino, founder of 3P Fitness and Weightlifting in Pace, Florida. He's president of the Panhandle Collective, one of the fastest growing weightlifting nonprofits in our country. He's a retired Green Beret turned CrossFit gym owner. Joey built 3 thriving gyms, a 27-person staff, and a 90-athlete weightlifting program that's taken home state and national titles. Today we're going to dig into his journey from special forces to business ownership, the lessons he's learned building multiple gyms, and his mission to fix what's broken in youth and USA weightlifting culture. Joey, how we doing today, man?
I'm good, man. That's quite the intro. I like that one.
Yeah. I can do it again if you
Pump
want.
me up a little bit more. My head needs to get a little bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, man, so you told me, you started your first gym when your wife was 7 months pregnant, which is the totally logical thing to do. What made you take that leap?
We just moved to Pace, Florida, in 2009. And once we got down here, there were no CrossFit gyms in the area. There was nowhere to do workouts like that caliber or anything like that. I was actually doing it like a head to toe fitness. So if you think of this little boutique fitness place with one little owner who's always there, I think it took me 10 seconds to drop 275 into a upright rack, and she stuck her head up and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm working out. This is working out." And she was like, "Not in here, you're not." So I was like, "All right, we got to find somewhere else to do this." I went to my wife. She was she was 7 months pregnant. I said, "Hey, I got a bonus, so I'm gonna kind of open a CrossFit gym so we can have a place to work out." And she was like, "No, you're not. We're having a baby." And I said, "Oh, I already signed a lease." And she was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, no, we're not doing that." And I was like, "Okay." And I did it anyways. But 9 months later, she actually quit her job at Navy Federal, and she was working at the gym. So it was a good time.
Nice.
So the lesson here is, folks, you disobey the wife's orders to make sure that you follow your
No,
passion.
do not do that. She was so mad at me. She can hear us right now. You know,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah. So she was so mad at me. But in the long run, God has a plan for us, and it worked out. I mean, she actually ended up being like the head coach for a large number of years while I was deployed and doing things all throughout the nation. And so,
Nice.
she just recently went back to work for Navy Federal, and because I'm kind of home now because I'm retired and I piddle too much. So I stay busy.
Nice.
I love it, man. So how do you manage everything where things are at today with multiple gyms, tons of staff? What are key?
So the trick is have a lot of people that you trust and build great SOPs, so standard operating procedures. I trained the first manager I had. She was amazing. She handed off that product to another manager, and we kept building from there. So we started with the one gym and one little location, about 1,200 square. I don't know. It was about 1,200 square feet, and then I grew into 2,200 square feet. And then I grew into 3,600 square feet. And then after that, it was like, okay, we need a bigger building. Found a building, bought the building, and said, hey, okay, now we have 7,000 square feet, and then now I need a full staff, and we need to bring on all these multiple programs and all this stuff like that. So that's what we did, kind of. So sorry, I had to throw the cat there. So we're making sure that all that baseline was set and steady for us, and then we could grow from there. And I kind of had to pass the hit by a bus test, so I had to be able to deploy and come back, and the business still survived, and it did. Thank God. I had a great mentor. I was a part of the Two Brain Business Mentorship program with Chris Cooper. I had an amazing mentor who used to be a former Ranger, so he understood a lot about being in the military, running a business, doing those things. So he helped me a lot, and I got to the point where I kind of graduated from their program, where I went all the way through tinker phase of their program. And then I was like, okay, well, I think I've learned everything I can from this, so let's just take it and put it into play. And then about 2.5 years ago, I was approached by the other gym owner in the area. He was like, hey, would you like to make me an offer on the business? And I was like, corner the market in this area? Absolutely. Let's go. So that's kind of how I did it. And then bought another gym, and we just basically got done remodeling it today. Doing paint and all kinds of stuff, making sure it's updated. And then the third location is functioning inside another CrossFit gym. It's just for weightlifting, because the weightlifting team's kind of big too. We have a rather large weightlifting team, and it's in Navarre. So we're operating inside of CrossFit Navarre. We're renting a space from her. But As of December 1st, I'll sign a lease. We'll have our own space in Navarre. So that'll be the third space. All the gyms are going to 24-hour access this year. And we'll kind of run it from there. We'll have coached hours, and then we'll have, just come in and do your program hours and stuff like that. But we'll see how that goes. Hey, best wishes for me.
Yeah. I feel like one of the hardest things for a lot of like first time gym owners is building a business versus creating a job for themselves. Like they become self-employed where they're running every class, they're doing all that stuff. If they leave for a week, the gym collapses. How did you get to the point of knowing, like, building out SOPs and getting everything set up to where, I mean, you were deployed. Like, how did you
Oh,
know
yeah.
to do that all in the beginning and not have it be this thing of like, Joey's coming in every day, 12-hour days?
Yeah. So the biggest thing and this comes a lot from the military. I took this from the military side a lot too. It's like entrusting your subordinates and like being sure that they're set up for success. So you have to build a bulletproof system. So from the start, you got to write down every single thing. So I like my handbook, I still have it to this day. And everybody who's a new hire has to read the handbook. But it says step 1, turn on the lights. The light switch is located X, Y, and Z. You'll flip the switch
Right.
on. You'll turn the music volume to this right here. You'll get this going on and everything like that. So the SOPs, like down to the minute detail, was very important. And then basically once you do that, it takes so long to do it too. It was
Yeah.
a process to write that handbook, even down to like handling marketing and handling, how do you onboard somebody? How do you get that lead in the door? Or what do you do whenever you're at a stalemate? Like building a marketing campaign, that was very challenging to write all that stuff out. But once I got it wrote out, and I had like little tiny booklets for every like scenario that comes up to update our SOPs, it kind of just started flowing. And then I stopped doing SOPs because my managers were doing them for me.
Yeah.
So it's number 1, having that down. Number 2, having people that you can rely on. I can't do this alone. There's nothing I can do here alone. I have to have people I trust and people I can place value into. A big no-no, like from some gym owners, they don't like they want to see their financials, and they only want to see their bank account because they feel like, I'm getting money, and if I get paid, if I take too much money, then it's like, man, my employees are going to judge me. But not me. My 2 managers have full access and autonomy to my bank account. They know when we're hurting. They know when we're doing good.
Right.
And I have full trust that they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing, because that's how a business works. Because if they don't know the beat or the pulse of what we're doing, or what the vision is, or what we're driving toward, or our sales goals, or, if our expenses are way too much and our overhead is killing us, then I can't tell them that. I have too much to manage. I have two businesses to manage right now as it is, and the third one's standing up. So I mean, like, if they can't do that and tell me, then I have to find somebody else that can, to tell you the truth.
One of
Yeah.
I just
one of the
can't do it. I
things
can't.
I feel I feel like special forces guys, I've seen so many special forces guys excel in business. Why do you think that is? Is it like innate things that you're born with? Is it training? What leads people to excellence in things outside of like the military?
Well, I mean, first off, we're selected based on, like, we have to go through a selection process. And the
Right.
selection process defines, like, hey, these are the key traits that are going to set you up for success, right? Like, we screen for this type of person. So, of course, whenever we get into the business world, we're going to try to achieve excellence. And I'm not, s- and I'm trying to be as humble as I possibly can. But like, just to be a Green Beret, look at the drive you got to do, or in any special forces, self-driven, you have to be really on top of it, right? And then when you get in there, they develop all these skills inside of you, right? To go to austere environments with little to no resources and perform. How many times I was in like Afghanistan, Colombia, Mexico, and they're like, hey, I'm like, send them a request, like, hey, I need all this stuff. And they're like, hey, you're a Green Beret, figure it out. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there like, okay, I don't really speak good Spanish right now, but I guess we'll get it done. Here's some stuff over here. Here's some stuff over here. We're going to go do it. So I think that's one of the things. And also, being a different breed, like some people they're leaders, and there's some people that, just don't want to lead. They just don't want to. I have to say that I'm kind of a natural born leader, and people actually do want to follow me. When I speak with authority. When people talk to me, they're like, hey, dude, looks like he's kind of got it going on. So I'll listen to that dude, you know? I don't really know what draws
Right.
them to me like that, but it's just, I guess it's the way I command a room. I guess it's the way, you know, we do all the things we're supposed to do, and I'm driven. You know, you can see that I'm driven. If you look at our social media, if you look at, you know, what we're doing in this community and just what we're doing in the Panhandle, to do that, it just takes a different person. So I think there's no secret sauce to it. I just think you need to take your actions, and there's not actions. There's stuff you do and you don't talk about it, you be about it. So, like, as much as I can talk about a plan, you know, words only last so long, and only one plan that survives first contact. So you got to get out there and get after it. That's it. So it's basically what I do, man. That's why I'm so successful. You know,
Yeah.
people tell me no, and you know what I see? I see yes. I'm gonna say, how do we get to yes? You know, tell
Right.
me no again, and I'll show you. I'll show you yes. So there you go. There's your recipe for success, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's this like thing I've noticed is, you know, we've done many things interviewing different kind of people for jobs and all this stuff. And you find that like the one trait that seems to be the most desirable for anybody is this like sense of like, is this person like a high agency kind of person? Do they just have this drive to, are they just doing things and just like they take action almost before they even think about what they're going to do? It's like
Yeah.
they're just so eager to do and to execute that they're easy to deal with because you just throw, like you said, you just throw SOP, you just throw directives and instructions at them, and they do well because they're more focused on executing and doing something than on slow down. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Should we ask other people? You know, it's like, is it a good idea? It's like, well, we'll find that out by trying. Right.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like, it just like, you're just talking to you now. It's like, you just know, I know that like anybody who goes to that gym is going to feel the presence of Joey. Like you're just moving, it's like you can tell you're just trying to move people from point A to point B, whatever that is, weightlifting, fitness, cross, like you're going to go in there and feel like motivated to be like, yeah, this guy has a plan. He's driving us forward.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I pretty much do that, but, like, you know, one thing I had to fight, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term icon syndrome. You
Yeah.
guys know what that
Yes.
is? So, basically, everybody kinda relies on you. Well, that was something probably about 3 years into the business where I was struggling with it. Like, they didn't wanna go to class if I wasn't coaching it. They
Yeah.
didn't wanna be in the gym if I wasn't there. And, yes, I can be, like, a reassuring presence to my staff, like, when I step in the gym, you know what I'm saying? And my members. But what I had to do is I had to withdraw myself from the business and put my managers as the face of the business. So that was kind of tough to do, and it still is. You know, I've been coaching a little bit lately. I withdrew from coaching a lot because, you know, toward the end of my special forces career, I was in North Carolina, living away from my family, and I was teaching at the last phase of the special forces course, which is called Robin Sage. So I was an unconventional warfare instructor, and then also I was deployed a lot. So my last combat rotation was 2019, which was when
Wow.
the Taliban signed a peace deal, when Trump was like, "Hey, you will kill as many Taliban as you possibly can until they signed a peace deal." And we achieved that. So that was pretty impressive. So like having that problem is big, but once I kind of remove myself, I coached a class this morning and 90% of the class didn't know I owned the gym. That was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I just walk in and coach the class, guest coach. You know, one of my head coaches out for the weekend. She went to North Carolina, and it's like, hey, I'll coach a few classes here and there, you know. And I love it when somebody comes up to me and introduces themselves like I'm a new member. So they're like, hey, how are you doing, man? What's your name? I was like, I'm Joey, man. What's up, dude? How are you doing?
That's
I
cool.
love that. I love that, you know, because
Nice.
it shows our culture. And if we can get our culture to every member, it's like, okay, you're a part of the family, because we have to beat the dead horse in the room. The dead horse is CrossFit dead, or what is CrossFit doing, right? And I'm
Right.
here to tell you, CrossFit's not dead. Like, it's not. It's the communities you bring together and the people that lead those communities. And if you're not evolving with what the fitness industry is going with right now, like taking your class and to say like people don't want to do hardcore CrossFit anymore, and adapting it to something that they want to do, then you're wrong. You're dead wrong, because this thing is like a living organism. You got to evolve it to meet people's needs. So, like, say, hey, people are withdrawing from CrossFit because they don't want to puke, rip their hands, or do this. Well, I need to do something else. We need to do like just fitness. Like inside of our other gym over in Pace, so we have one in Pace and one in Milton. We have masters. These are people that are like 70, 80 years old. We started that class with getting up out of a beach chair. Like people
Damn.
wanted to be able to get up out of a beach chair, right? We're like, okay. So we brought in beach chairs and basically we did squats out of beach chairs, like getting up until they could get up out of beach chairs. They wanted to be like, they say, hey, we struggle carrying our luggage in the airport. So literally they were doing farmer's carries with like luggage, like walking around and stuff. Our
That's
master's class is
awesome.
amazing. And then we have our teens class, and our teens class develops teenagers who are going to feed high school sports. So we talk about feeding high school sports. Our local high school, Pace High School, 3-time Florida state champions. You know how
Damn.
many of those kids I had hands on at some point in their life before they started that? Yeah, exactly. Right there in CrossFit, 90% of them came through our programs. So it's like getting them in that stage and then getting them the adult stage, and then the weightlifting team developing inside the 2 gyms. That was just a given. It was just an easy day,
Yeah.
plug and play.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
like people can say like they see CrossFit and they're like, oh, CrossFit's dead, but I think each CrossFit gym has its own like ecosystem, just like any gym has its own ecosystem. And so like within
Yeah.
your gym, you develop your brand of whatever CrossFit means to you and your members, and you can still go off the beaten path and like you said, like go hyper specific on training modalities to provide the value to the, to your members that they're looking to achieve. And versus like staying straight to the script, like, no, we're not going to do this and help you. We're going to stay on this WOD that cross affiliate programming says. And so I think that's the key. It's like being able to shift and be dynamic and go off script and off plan to serve our members better, provide more value, and they end up staying.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. That's kind of what we're in right now. Like right now, we just had our year-long staff meeting. Every year we have a staff meeting where we look at like, all right, basically a SWOT analysis, if you will.
Yep.
We look at where we finished the year at, and did we beat last year? Are we growing? Are we declining? Where are expenses at? Are they growing? Are they declining? Are we kind of like in a stalemate, or like are our members happy? We surveyed our coaches. I read those surveys out loud. They were very humbling to the management staff. You know, we're just trying to be better all the time, and you realize from surveying your staff and listen to their feedback, like, hey, we're going to have to evolve, or we're going to have to do this, or basically we're going to be dead in the water, or we're going to have a mutiny on our hands or something like that. And you really have to listen to your staff, because a staff that big, like I don't see everybody. There's times I'll go weeks without seeing, whoever coaches the 5 a.m. over here at one gym, because I'm coaching 5 a.m. or doing personal training with clients during that time. So I'm like bouncing between both gyms. I don't get to see the morning crew sometimes, or I don't get to see the evening crew at the other gym. So it's like getting everybody together and being like, what are you seeing? I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to take your advice humbly and not get offended by it. That's a big no-no. All right. As business owners, we're like, hey, I put the iron hand down. I don't listen to anybody. This is my word. My word is true. I can't do that. I have to listen to what the staff is giving me as feedback and what the clients are giving me as feedback. And then I'm very lucky to have a staff that think for themselves. My manager at 3P, her name's Danielle. She'd come to me and she says, hey, I'm going to start pulling members aside and surveying them as they leave class. Like they won't sit down. Like people have no time. How much time do you guys have? No time, right? Max, I talked to Max once on a phone call a long time ago, and he seemed like, I'm just trying to get people to sign up. And then Zach too. Zach's like going 1,000 miles a minute. I know I text him. I text you a lot. And I imagine if you had 30 of me texting you, that would be pretty rough, right? So I kind of feel the same way sometimes. Having free thinking staff though, that like come up with their own advancements and their own ideas, and just fostering those ideas and supporting them has got me to where I am today.
I think like, and I read this in a book somewhere, it's talking about the levels of leadership, but like the final level, there's like 2 top levels. The second highest is like, tell me the issue and tell me how we're going to solve it. And then the level above that is like, hey, here's the issue and here's how I already solved it. Your subordinate telling you how they already solved the problem.
Yes.
One of the things that grinds my gears is when a team member or something comes to me with like a problem and they just have no insight on how they would solve it. They're just like dropping a problem on me. I'm like, what are we doing? We're not fostering a collaborative environment. We're not empowering ourselves as leaders. And it shows, and I always take it as a reflection of me, of I haven't led this person well enough to then be able to do that. So let's figure out how. But yeah, like I think that's the key. When you have staff members that have that feeling of extreme ownership and like they feel like there's blood in the game for them, skin in the game, and then they take actions like you just mentioned about Danielle, like to solve a problem or gather more feedback to present to you, or take action, I think is like the highest level of leadership that you can have in a business.
Yes, I agree 100%. It was taught to me very young. So like when I was in the Army as a private, my squad leader said, "Hey, go down to the motor pool." These are all terms we can relate with, right? So we'd go down to the motor pool, go find this part specific, right? And me being Joey, I went down there and I didn't know any better. I open up the thing, I look like this right here, and then I go, "Hey, it's not there." I slammed the doors, right? So I come back, I say, "Hey, I couldn't find it." This dude my very first squad leader in the Army, was probably, a little over, like right at 6 foot. He was like burly country boy, right? And he's like, "Okay." He said, "Come with me." Me and him walked down into the motor pool and he pulled the doors open and he goes, "Bam, there it is right there. It was right in front of your face." He said, "Get back up there. We're going to the O course." And it's not just you, the whole platoon's going. So like, I got the whole platoon smoked for about 4 hours in the O course, just like dusted off. Water, we're all like doing push-ups in water. We're like, and we're like, all I'm saying out front is, "The buck stops here. The buck stops here." It was so terrible. It was the worst smoking I ever got. And I took that lesson right there and I was like, all right, don't make that mistake ever again. And so I kind of overlaid it, but like, let's take it a step forward. I can't just go smoke my staff, right? I can't take them to the O course and just hurt them. So we fast forward into my life whenever I was a special forces team sergeant. So I had like 12 men underneath me, right? And all the guys are in there and I say, "Hey, I was a sniper. I was on a free fall team and I was a sniper too. So we wanted to do some sniper training where we got these one targets. They look like they're called Crazy Ivan targets. You've probably seen them before. They're just like a green pop-up target. You probably see them in movies and stuff. And I wanted one of them and I wanted to put a balloon behind it and we shot it with a sniper rifle, like from a distance. It dropped like a person would if you shot, right? So I wanted these Crazy Ivans and they looked for about 10 minutes and they came in and they were like, we can't get them. And I said, okay. I told everybody's working furiously in the team room, 12 guys, 12 special forces operators. And I'm like, stop. Everybody stop. So-and-so has a problem, right? He can't get these targets. We are doing nothing else, but you have 1 hour to get me these targets. You will call every resource you have. It was an exercise. It was like when I was new to the team. It was an exercise. I said, I don't want to hear no. Give me the yes. You got 1 hour. And I put my head down and I literally went back to working on whatever I was working on. They're calling everybody fear. The whole team is working together. You know how quick they solved that problem?
Super fast.
20 minutes. 20 minutes. They had them they had them in front of me in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I said, do we understand one thing? We can solve any problem collectively. All right. Any problem we can solve collectively if we have the right motivation and the right resources. Okay. And they were like, they never in the 4 years I was their team sergeant, they never came to me with a problem. As a matter of fact, people from outside teams came to us to solve problems. Is that not crazy?
That's wild.
And
That's awesome.
That's how you breed free thinkers, and that's how you breed people who function on their own without your supervision. It's exactly how you do it. And, I don't do it quite as aggressively on the civilian side because I have majority of my staff is ladies and, they just don't respond to that kind of leadership. But if I teach them how to do it, I mean, ladies are resourceful, man. I don't know if you've ever told a girl to stalk somebody, but holy man, they can get you. They can
Max
get you
has
dirt.
experience.
So like my wife, if I tell her something about like something happened or something like that, she's already got like their criminal record pulled up. She's got their Facebook profile all laid out. She knows how many people they've slept with. She knows who they're hooking up with next. I'm like, holy okay, I just asked you a simple question. So like, and my daughter's the same way, it's just like, bam, they're on it. So they're very
awesome.
resourceful when they want to use it, You
Yeah.
just got to teach them how to channel that energy into something good, So
That's awesome.
That's kind of
Absolutely.
it.
Tell us a little bit about, well, actually, Max, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, something that I remember hearing, I think it might've been Steve Jobs that pointed this out, but like the sort of job, the role of like a leader, or the role of like, a founder or whatever you want to call it, is to create a shared vision, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to instill in everybody the same degree of passion for what they're doing because they all share in the vision. And you don't want people on the team that don't have the same shared vision. So whether it's a gym, whether it's, in the military, whether it's, a company like ours, like you have to have this ability to get everyone to believe in what you're doing and to buy into the vision. And that's what kind of sets the stage for everything else, so that when people do stuff, when people look to this, there's always this understanding that we're doing this for this bigger thing, this bigger vision. And it seems like a lot of leadership and a lot of gym stuff, and these things fall apart when the leadership can't articulate, can't convince, or doesn't know or isn't aware themselves of what the actual vision is. It's like the idea of like, I want to start a company, or I want to make a product. It's like, that's
or I want
cool,
to make $1
but
million or two. It's like, that's not a vision. Like,
yeah,
that's,
what's the vision? What are you trying to do? And it's like so easy to get sucked into that. And like, I think a lot of people don't even take the time to sit down and really think about like, what is the vision? Like, what is this thing you're trying to get to and trying to build? Because if you can't do that, you can't convey that to anybody, right? And you're never going to have that kind of top down structure.
And we did a really good exercise with that, because like when I first did it, I did it military style, where I wrote my vision, so it's basically, it's just three things. You got your values, your core values, right? Help first, educate, and motivate. Those are my three right there. But my three is not the same as Max's three, or my three is not the same as Zach's three, right?
Right.
They could be totally off, like totally different, right? So what happened is about 4 years into business, I'm running it with my vision, my mission, and my culture, right? But I realized that that's Joey. That's why everybody's iconed on me, right? So I grabbed my staff and I was like, you got 1 hour. And I gave them guidelines. I was like, you guys got 1 hour, and put them in one room with a whiteboard, like right there with a whiteboard. And I said, hey, vision, mission, and culture. And I have a picture of that. We put it on a board. It's overlapping. I'll send you guys a picture of it, or I'll post a picture of it.
Yeah.
It still hangs in the gym today. It has everything on it. One board has vision, mission, and our values. And they did it. And when they did that as an exercise with the staff, then that's number one, something I can hold them accountable to. So if they ever step outside those lines, it's I can be like, hey, you wrote this. This is something you came up with.
Right.
Okay. So I can hold you accountable to it. And then secondly, you can point to that board anytime a member falls outside those lines too. I mean, I know we don't talk about firing members. We want to have members, right? But one weed can kill every prize-winning pumpkin you possibly have. There's Pumpkin Plan, right? If you guys ever read that book, it's an amazing book. Weed and feed, man. Like, get the prize-winning pumpkins. Those are the ones you want to replicate over and over and over again as clients. So having good clients in the gym makes everything run smoothly. Have you ever had a client you like pulled up to the gym, you see their car, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to go in here and do this.
Never. I've never had.
Yeah, right, Zach. I know you're full of crap right there on that. I know every coach sometime in their coaching career, if you've been coaching as long as I have, all right, I've been coaching right now 15 years, right? There's a time where you're just pulling up and the 5 a.m. is packed in the parking lot, and you're just like, I don't want to get out of my car, right? You have to fix that. You have to fix that culture, because guess what? Your members are looking at that one person and they're saying the same exact thing. Like, this one person wasn't here. I did it a few ways. Like, I raised my rates. That helped. Doing some other things, having one-on-ones more with clients. The worst thing I ever learned about being a business owner was my first 3 months of owning my first CrossFit gym. I had a lady, I won't say her name, but she came in, right? And she could hear this story and she'd be fine. But she didn't want to run. She always rode. I'd say, hey, go outside and run, do a 400-meter warm up. And she would just grab a rower and start rowing. So one day I just had it. I wasn't a real good business owner back then. I was kind of a very aggressive army dude. I was kind of angry, as a matter of fact. But I went in the office and wrote her a check for her membership and handed it to her. And I told her to get the F out. I was like, get out. And she looked at me. And she was very taken back by it. And the rest of the class is coming in from a 400-meter run. And I just told her to get out. She doesn't leave. She stays. She does the class. I ignored her for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Not one word. We get to the end of the 2 weeks. She comes up to me after class and she goes, I want you to coach me. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I want you to coach me. And I was like, okay. We had a great relationship after that. But I was the one who made the mistake, not her. It was me. It was my leadership. She wanted to be coached the whole time. She wanted to be coached on her terms. She even ran a 400 after that. You know what I'm saying? But it was just the approach that I was coming at it with, I tell that story to remind myself of where I came from, like when I was in the early days to where we are now, because I don't do that anymore, of course. That was back in the puke in the parking lot, rip your hands day. It serves a lesson to me like, hey, you don't know where people are coming from. You need to have some empathy, dude. Like, as men, we don't like to have empathy. We think it's weakness. I've been told I'm not empathetic. In my special forces career, as a matter of fact, it was, one of my guys I lost in 2019. He came to me one day. I was early in my team sergeant time, and he goes, "The problem, Joey, is you don't have any empathy, like one-on-one, like rank aside." Like we had a conversation, and to tell you the truth, I had to go to the dictionary and look up what empathy was. You laugh. I had to go look it up. And I was like, he's right. Oh, man. That was kind of like a wake-up call for me. That kind of changed my approach to leadership. And it also changed my approach to how I talk to my members as well. Because my
Yeah.
members are paying me for a service,
Yeah, I think like the key, and I remember when I opened my gym, Max and me back then, I opened it up, and I remember listening to like Extreme Ownership, the book, as I'm like building all these like rogue racks. I just like dropped like the only money I had ever had, and I was like 20 years old on the floor of this gym putting together these racks, listening to this book, and I had this like aha moment, and it's this idea of it's all my fault. So like everything is top down. If someone makes a mistake, like I've had to fire like 3 people in the last year and a half. Like we've had a lot of churn, a lot of changes have had to happen. And people I should have fired like long ago, I let stay. And it tanked culture, and it tanked member relationships, and it tanked team. And it's all my fault. It's not them for not being A players. It's on me.
It's my fault.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the issue. A lot of gym owners or just business owners in general like lack accountability for themselves, and it hurts their ability to lead and grow a business because they're not honest. We're not being honest with ourselves and then taking action to make the change. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, and that's another part of empathy as well.
Definitely. Yeah, dude, I feel like we could do a whole podcast just on leadership. I'm like, I got all this other stuff here, but I mean, we could just do another episode on the Panhandle Collective. How have you done, staying on leadership, because I think this is so awesome. What have you done with your staff? So we'll call it your mid-level managers, your managers, right? Who have subordinates under them. How have you empowered them to be leaders in their own roles to then lead team under them? Because it's one thing when it's like a 1-tier leadership structure, it's kind of flat. It's you and then everyone else. And then you add tiers and it's you and then a couple others and everyone else. And as you add more tiers, it's almost like that it's playing telephone. You say something and all of a sudden it gets to the bottom level person and it's a whole different thing. What have you done to keep a really clean leadership structure where you know what the people at the bottom of the rungs are hearing and doing? It follows the vision and the things that you're saying to the people under you.
Yeah. So like the first thing I did was having my staff, write the vision and mission statement so they can hold themselves accountable to it. Secondly is empowering my managers, right? So I have a rule, right? This is one of the biggest rules, and it's not because it's not a trust thing. It is a trust thing, but it is understanding the fact that I fully trust my managers. So I tell them, anything you buy under $400, it's your call. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's not, I don't care like the price value. It could be $1,000. It could be anything, but anything you buy under $400, it's your call. So you look at the budget, right?
Mhm.
And if you need something, you buy it. And I trust you. So empowerment of that first step of empowerment gives them that leadway. Also, not hiding financials from them. That did great for my managers. Like my managers know exactly the pulse and beat of the gym. Then secondly, if you go a tier down, that's our sales associates. So we have 2 sales associates. Right now, one of my managers is doing both roles because she's just that good. But the other gym has an assistant manager who also does sales. And we had that at both places at one point. And they're kind of like, okay, incentivized bonuses for the structure. Like you do good, you get rewarded. You make these big sales, you sell PT, you do all this stuff. Heck yeah, you guys hit more than your expenses were. Like we're in a good profit margin, you get rewarded. And then on that, empowering coaches, right? So we have a head coach position. That position's not filled at one gym just because we have multiple part-time coaches. But at SRC, our other CrossFit gym in Milton, we have a head coach position, and has autonomy of programming. She can do what, we run Hard work pays off programming from DECA. It was from DECA Comp back in the day, Michelle Otondra. And she has autonomy to change that programming, do whatever she needs to do. But that's her job. Her job is programming. She's the head coach. We have like our media people who do our media stuff. They have the autonomy to do their stuff. We just kind of give them our general vision of what we're going to do. So just empowering people. Like, I don't tell the coaches how they run their warm up. I don't tell the coaches like what modification they make. Like today, it said banded pull-ups. I hate banded pull-ups. Like, why would I have guys do banded pull-ups if they're not building strength? I like a jump and a slow negative. So I address that in my class. This is the stimulus. I want you to jump and do a slow negative because I'm building strength with this. But if you're doing 25 pull-ups, maybe you can use a band, but we're doing 3 to 6 or 6 to 5 or hypertrophy style, So like having autonomy, just the trust to do the job, that's key. That's perfect. Like, I'm not going to micromanage how you do your warm up. I'm not going to micromanage you how you turn the light on or what music you play. I just don't want any cussing in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. That's the only stipulations I put on managers and the staff. And just doing that, they feel like they're empowered and they take ownership in the business. And if you get a bunch of like-minded people taking ownership in your own business, then you don't even have to be there.
How do you handle mistakes?
So mistakes. Well, here's the thing. If you own it, it's nothing, man. Like, hey, we all make mistakes. We're human. Just the other day, there was a mistake. Somebody didn't cover the kids' room. So like, and it was a gap. And my assistant manager called me. She was like, hey, I made a mistake. And it's like, I don't give them it's not like I'm going to reprimand them or something for the mistake. It's just like, hey, they get disappointed dad most of the time. They don't want to disappoint dad. So it's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, hey, mistakes happen. What did we learn from it? Let's go forward. You don't really reprimand your staff for mistakes. You just if there's a problem, we solve it together as a team. And when we can't solve it as a team, then a cog in the wheel's broken and I must fix it. That's it. We don't look at mistakes.
I remember a really successful CEO told me recently, and he was like, you're going to have people on your team that they want to take the game-winning shot. Like Michael Jordan had more misses than he had makes on the game-winning, a game-winning shot, but he still wanted to be the guy with the ball in his hands at the end as the buzzer's going on. And so like, if we empower them to be able to miss, like that's okay. They're going to take more shots and more swings and hit more home runs on the way there and hit more buzzer beaters. And so like, that's the thing. I think a lot of people try to micromanage and then staff doesn't feel empowered to make a decision because they don't want to piss Joey off.
Yeah. And it's like, just like I tell my weightlifters, right? You miss 100% of the lifts you never take. Take the lift, man. Take the freaking lift. Go out there, put it above your head. You made your best valiant effort at trying. If you pull it from the ground, just drop it and be like, I can't do it. You never had a chance. So, like I tell my staff the same way. If they come up to me with an idea, I don't shoot it down. I'm like, oh, that's stupid. No, man. Like, I listen to it and then I say, okay, now how can I make it better? Like, even if it's not a great idea, I want to make it better. So it can be like, bam, let's put it into action. Let's go.
Definitely. Well, cool, dude. I want to keep you on schedule today. I know you got jets soon here, so we appreciate you being on. We could definitely do another episode talking more about weightlifting and panhandle stuff. Leadership. This is a leadership 101 course. I love this, man. This is awesome.
Yeah,
I've
super cool.
I've mentored a few leaders too. I've mentored a few people. A lot of people call me. They'll just call me up and be like, "Hey, I encourage people to do it. I am a help first person. If you call me with a problem, I'm going to get you an answer, even if you're a perfect stranger. Like, I've had strangers call me. I'm also a level 1 instructor, so I'm actually going out to New Orleans this weekend and teaching level 1s. I get so much contact on people, and you know how many of my level 1 students either number 1 pay me for programming. Or number 2, they come back to me and say, Coach, I have a problem. Can you help me solve it? It's so many. I've been able to help a lot of high schools. I've been able to help a lot of, other teams in this nation. Other big teams have called me up like, hey, how are you cracking this nut? And I'm like, hey, here's how I do it. And they're like, that's amazing. Like, I wish I could just sit here and talk to you for another 30
when those level
minutes.
1 coaches are like, hey, I've been programming on spreadsheets, you can tell them about this new app, CoachLogik, that's freaking crushing it.
Yeah.
And then you
Come
can
on,
help
man.
them
Zach,
that way,
how many
right?
people have I told about CoachLogik?
I
How
know,
many people have I told? And I still do.
Max that.
Joey, we
You're
love
gonna
you.
get some more
Appreciate you.
calls.
You're our favorite.
We love you, Joey.
We tell that to everyone, but you're our favorite.
Yeah,
Cool,
you're
man.
right.
Appreciate you, brother. I appreciate this.
You just let me know when you want to get me back on here again. I'll come in here and talk about whatever you want.
Oh, yeah.
100%.